The LA Kings finally signed one of their two remaining restricted free agents. I'll tell you what that means for the remaining restricted free agent and how it impacts the Kings' salary cap. Plus, we'll talk about two former members of the LA Kings organization that'll never be forgotten. We're going to talk about several Kings prospects on the ice this week in game action. I've got a correction of something I passed along to tell you about. And where does this show on YouTube rank amongst Pacific Division teams? All that coming up on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content. It wasn't long ago I was asking you guys to help me get to 500 subscribers. Well, we're now at 562, and I'm feeling good about our goal to get to 600 by the end of the month. Thank you for all who have liked and subscribed. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. My name is Eddie Garcia. I'm your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for almost 30 years, for the past 20 plus years at the Fox Sports Radio Network, where I've been a co-host, sidekick reporter, and NHL reporter, also co-host of the Puck Podcast, a weekly NHL review show that's been putting out content for the past 16 years, and a passionate LA Kings fan for the past 30 years. We are 5 days away from the 2022 Rookie Faceoff in San Jose. More on that coming up. Training camp opens in 10 days. We are 17 days away from the Kings preseason opener against the Sharks, and we are 30 days away from the LA Kings season opener against the Vegas Golden Knights. We are about a month away from real hockey getting started, and I know we all cannot wait to see what this season has in store for the LA Kings. Big news from over the weekend. The LA Kings signed one of their two remaining restricted free agents, defenseman Mikey Anderson. He gets a one-year deal worth $1 million. The 23-year-old has quickly turned into a solid defensive defenseman playing on the top pairing with Drew Doughty. Anderson was drafted by LA in the fourth round of the 2017 NHL draft. He's played 117 career NHL games, all with the Kings, recording 4 goals and 14 assists for 20 points over his career. This past season, Mikey Anderson had 2 goals and 6 assists for 8 points in 57 regular season games. He made his playoff debut and appeared in all 7 of the Kings' playoff games against the Oilers. Held his own as best you can against the top explosive offensive player in the NHL and Connor McDavid in that series. For Mikey Anderson, a Minnesota native, he attended the University of Minnesota Duluth, where he helped the Bulldogs capture back-to-back NCAA national championships. So Mikey Anderson, again, very important player for the LA Kings. Yeah, he's not much on the opposite side of things, but that's what you pay your forwards for. Ideally, you would love to have offensive production from the back end, if possible, and players that can do that, guys like Cale Makar, Adam Fox, etc., Miro Heiskanen. Those guys are going to get paid top dollar. They're not going to get a one-year, $1 million deal. But for a very, very good young defensive defenseman, Mikey Anderson back in the fold for another season. Again, he was a restricted free agent, so he was under team control, which means he didn't have an option of going and signing elsewhere for more money. So we knew the deal was eventually going to get done. 1 year, $1 million, very reasonable. And we're going to look at the salary cap for the LA Kings in a moment. As a matter of fact, you know what? Let's do that right now. This is capfriendly.com. It is a great website if you are interested in teams and their salary cap situation. And as we can see right now, the LA Kings are currently projected at a cap hit of just over $81 million. Their remaining cap space is just under $1.5 million. So there was some thoughts by others, including myself, that the Kings would have maybe some salary cap issues after signing Sean Durzi and Mikey Anderson. Well, they've signed Anderson. Durzi is still remaining to be signed, but it looks like the Kings are going to be just fine as far as the salary cap goes. And according to LA Kings insider Zach Dooley, while capfriendly.com shows the Kings, again, have that much cap space remaining, it is actually, it counts for 25 player contracts. That's 2 more than teams are allowed to carry during the regular season. So with a couple of players being sent down, from this list, then the Kings are going to have even more salary cap space. So it shouldn't be an issue as far as the Kings signing Sean Durzi for what I assume will be a very similar deal to what Mikey Anderson signed for. So here is the list from capfriendly.com of all of the Kings forwards. As you can see, this column here, all of the Kings forwards are under contract for this coming season. Trevor Moore is going to be a UFA after this year. So is Brendan Lemieux, Gabe Vilardi, a restricted free agent, and Lias Anderson as well. So if you're projecting ahead to what Mikey Anderson might get after this season on his one-year deal, there will be some salary cap issues facing the Kings as far as what are they going to sign Trevor Moore for? Will they re-sign Brendan Lemieux? Will they re-sign Gabe Vilardi or Lias Anderson? Then now let's move down to the defensemen, and you can see all the defensemen are under contract except for Sean Durzi at this point, who is an RFA. There you see Mikey Anderson getting the $1 million for this year. Then the following season, he's a restricted free agent again, which means he is still under team control. Same goes for Tobias Anderson. Alexander Edler will be a UFA. I'll be very surprised if they re-sign him for another season, but that's to be determined later on. And like we said, Sean Durzi, the lone remaining Kings player to be signed for this coming season. Again, he's a restricted free agent. The team has control of him, so he is going to get re-signed. It is just a question of when rather than if. And I would expect, again, that he'll get somewhere around $1 million as well as Mikey Anderson. Maybe Durzi gets a little bit more because he is more of an offensive threat, and offense, always gets a little bit more money regardless of what sport you play. Durzi made just over $800,000 for this past season, so he's due a bit of a raise, and that would be, I'm guessing, around $1 million. But again, that is going to get done at some point before the season gets going here. Now that Mikey Anderson is in the fold, the Kings know exactly how much room they have left available. And real quick, we look at the goaltenders here. If you're looking and projecting ahead to what the Kings are going to have available as far as the salary cap, here's the big question mark with Jonathan Quick. Will his $5.8 million, well, it's coming off the books the next season as he's an unrestricted free agent, but what will happen this season as far as, is he going to be re-signed? Is he going to retire? Will they re-sign him? A lot of things are up in the air, but that $5.8 million potentially is going to be available for next season. But just one more time, one player yet to be signed for the LA Kings. You see all the forwards under contract, the goaltenders under contract. It is just Sean Durzi, the defenseman for the LA Kings. That is the lone remaining player to be signed by Los Angeles. But again, Mikey Anderson is done. He is in the fold. And so just one more player to be signed for the LA Kings, and they will be set and ready to go for the upcoming season. Hey, we've got news on remembering two important former members of the Kings organization in a moment. But first, I want to tell you about a product that I use every day. It's called AG1. And when you get to be over 50 like me, sometimes you need a little bit more energy, but it's not just for people like me, it's for anybody. And with one delicious scoop of AG1, you are absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, probiotics, and antigens to help you get your day off right. This special blend of ingredients support your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. AG1 contains less than 1 gram of sugar, and it costs you less than $3 a day. That's cheaper than your morning coffee habit and your after-work brew. And you're investing in your health, and that's obviously very important. Athletic Greens has over 7,000 five-star reviews, even endorsed by some professional athletes. Now's the time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. Just one scoop in a cup of water every day, and that's all you need. No need for a million different supplements and pills to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL network to take ownership of your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Hard to believe, but yesterday on Sunday marked the 21st anniversary of September 11th attacks. If you were old enough to remember it, it was obviously a day that we will never forget. You probably also know that day was a tragic one specifically for the LA Kings family, with Garnett Ace Bailey and Mark Davis, both members of the LA Kings scouting staff, among those killed on United Airlines Flight 175 that was flown into the South Tower of the World Trade Center. The second plane that hit the towers, they were traveling from Boston to Los Angeles. Bailey was 53 years old. He was entering his 8th season as the director of professional scouting for the Kings. He won 7 Stanley Cups as a player and a scout, 2 as a player and 5 as a scout. He was a part of 33 NHL seasons between his playing career and his time as a scout as well, and working in teams, scouting departments and front offices. Mark Davis was 31 years old. He was entering his second season with the Kings as a professional scout. The Kings were Davis's first NHL organization after he had spent time as a coach at Harvard University. You may also know that Ace and Mark have their names on the back of the LA Kings players' helmets to this day. They have done that every year since September 11th to commemorate those two important members of the Kings organization. And I remember being in Staples Center for the first game after September 11th. Obviously, there was a pause of several days to honor what happened and to just trying to absorb and figure out where we were kind of in the world at that point. Obviously, a very shocking day for those of you like me who remembered it and lived through it. And then, yeah, obviously, a very sad situation involving the LA Kings. They also wore patches, did the LA Kings, on their jerseys that year. I actually have one of them here. This is the red, white, and blue American flag A&M logo for Ace and Mark that they wore on the chest of their jerseys for that season. And as I said, they still remember Ace Bailey and Mark Davis to this day with their names on the back of the LA Kings helmets. Maybe you're younger, maybe you weren't aware of that, and maybe you wondered, what is that sticker on the back of the helmet? Yeah, it's still there. And I think it's very, very cool and very respectful if the LA Kings are still remembering Ace and Mark to this day. And I assume will do so for an undetermined amount of time, hopefully forever, because it is something that we should never forget. There was also a very harrowing story involving Bruce Boudreau, who is currently the head coach of the Vancouver Canucks. At the time, Bruce was the head coach of the Manchester Monarchs, and at the time, that was the Kings AHL affiliate. This was before the Ontario Reign were around. And Bruce Boudreau was actually supposed to be on Flight 175 as well. But then head coach at the time, Andy Murray, was having a kind of a pre-camp coaches summit. And so he wanted all of his coaches, his assistant coaches at the NHL level, and the head coach and the assistant coach at the AHL level to fly out a day early and meet before camp got underway. And so Bruce Boudreau and his assistant coach, Bobby J, actually flew out the day before on September 10th. And because of that decision, Bruce Boudreau is alive today and coaching the Vancouver Canucks. And he's a guy who always, there was an interview I saw with him for this year. He's someone who's always very open to talk about it. It is, if you're interested in that story, there's on YouTube and other places where you can hear Bruce Boudreau talk about Ace Bailey, who was a close friend of his, both playing and after their playing careers, and talks about that decision that essentially saved his life. Wow, he's so fortunate, so lucky that he didn't suffer the same fate as Ace Bailey and Mark Davis. I have never been to New York, and my wife, as I've mentioned on a few podcasts, is a gigantic Los Angeles Chargers fan, season ticket holders, and we always try and work in a football trip during the season. This year, we're going to Arizona, for example, a small trip. Probably not going to check out a Coyotes game, but we always try and work in a hockey angle wherever we go. If there's a hockey game playing somewhere in the vicinity, I try and go, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed I can get to Madison Square Garden next year. But next year we are planning to go see the Los Angeles Chargers play in New Jersey against the New York Jets. And it'll be my first trip to New York. And I absolutely know my wife and I will plan a trip to the 9/11 Memorial. And I will definitely take out a moment to go and find the names of Ace Bailey and Mark Davis on the pools that are there. They've got the two pools with all the names surrounding the pools where the two towers once stood. I will definitely go check that out and pay my respects. And like I said, it is very, very cool and appropriate that the LA Kings still remember Ace Bailey and Mark Davis to this day, and their names are on the back of the helmets with that sticker. Hey, coming up, we have news on the LA Kings top prospects playing this Friday. Yes, NHL hockey this Friday. But first, we want to tell you about the Kings and all of the NHL that you can be up to date on with the Locked On NHL podcast. They've got you covered for all of your league-wide NHL talk with a rotating cast of local hosts from the Locked On NHL channels like this one, breaking down the biggest stories in hockey 5 days a week. Subscribe for free on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube as well. So again, coming up this Friday, several of the LA Kings top prospects like Quinton Byfield, Alex Turcotte, Brandt Clarke, all taking part in the 2022 Rookie Faceoff in San Jose. The Kings will be facing the Colorado Avalanche. That's 2 p.m. this Friday in the opening game of the event. You can watch these games, I am told, streaming on Hockey TV. It is possible that you may have to pay a fee or a subscription. I think they ask for like a monthly fee. I think it's around $20. So if you're interested in that, you check out Hockey TV. I will be watching the game, so I will watch for you and report on them if you don't want to pay the money. And so I did want to let you know that because on Friday, I'm going to watch that game against the Avalanche, 2 p.m., and then be recording a podcast afterwards, reporting on how the players did, especially guys like Alex Turcotte, Quinton Byfield, and Brandt Clarke, but all the players as well. Tell you how that game went, what players stood out, what players maybe didn't, and just give you a report on that game. Because of that, though, our normal Friday feedback segment is going to be moved up a day. So if you would like to get me an email with any comments, questions about anything involving the Kings or this show, you need to get them in before Thursday's show. And the email address is lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE, lockedoneddie@gmail.com. So again, we'll be reporting on the rookie face-off in San Jose Friday. The Kings playing at 2 p.m. Pacific time against the Colorado Avalanche. We'll be recording a episode on that game specifically and how the players look. So Thursday is the quote-unquote Friday feedback segment of the show. If you want to get your emails in, do it before Thursday. Again, lockedoneddie@gmail.com. I did want to make a correction. And I've worked in media for a long time, as I mentioned my kind of credentials at the top of the show. And there's usually kind of a rule in sports media that if you make a mistake, you don't bring attention to it because sometimes people aren't paying attention. And that's fine. And if I make a mistake on this show and it's a small mistake, I probably will let it slide. But I did make a pretty big mistake. And I want to make sure I point it out to you guys. I want to come correct. Because I had mentioned a stat that I could see you maybe regurgitating to your friends and talking about an LA Kings player that has joined the team this year, and it is unfortunately incorrect. Okay, so Kevin Fiala has obviously joined the team. He was the big offseason acquisition for LA, and I had been talking about how one of the big keys for the LA Kings is to improve their power play for this coming season. That's not exactly breaking news, but I had touted that Kevin Fiala is going to help the Kings power play because of the 17 power play goals that he scored a year ago. That is inaccurate. Unfortunately, I saw 17 and thought it was goals. He actually had 17 power play points a year ago with the Minnesota Wild. He had 5 power play goals, so not 17 points, not power play goals. So 5 power play goals for Kevin Fiala for a year ago. So if you are talking to your buddies about the Kings improving their power play, if you're talking to other fans about Kevin Fiala gonna really boost the power play because of those 17 power play goals he had a year ago, I apologize. That was my mistake, and I wanted to make sure I pointed it out because I don't want you to hear me say something. And believe me, I'm trying to be accurate as much as I possibly can, but mistakes are going to be made. But when they are made, I do want to, again, let you know about it, not because I like pointing out my mistakes. I don't. But like I said, I don't want you to give false information when you're talking with your Kings friends about certain subjects. So if there is a stat that I give that is pretty, that's 17 and 5 is a big difference. If it was 17 and 12, maybe I'd let it slide. But again, Kevin Fiala, 17 power play points, not 17 power play goals. Unfortunately, 5 power play goals. I still think he's going to help the power play in a number of areas. But I did want to make that correction and let you know about that. So hopefully you appreciate my honesty in that regard. I also wanted to pass along something real quick that we here at the Locked On Networks, which have shows that cover every NFL team, Major League Baseball team, NBA team, NHL team. There are some college shows as well. It's a pretty vast network that is growing. And we do get information sent to us periodically. I think it's at least once a month about how certain shows are doing, and it's broken down in a lot of different ways. Some are network wide, some are broken down by the sports. And so this, I wanted to pass this along and maybe give you guys some props on this, especially on the YouTube side of things. I talked about the subscribers growing and growing ever since I've taken over this channel about a month ago. And I did see that Locked On LA Kings is ranked number 9 among all NHL Locked On podcasts. We are the number 2 most visited NHL YouTube, Locked On NHL YouTube page in the Pacific Division, behind the San Jose Sharks. So, I'm competitive by nature, regularly, regardless. And so just want to let you know that we are not number 1 in the Pacific Division. It's good to be top 10 in the NHL, and I thank you very much for that. But let's see if we can't be the number 1 Locked On NHL show out of the Pacific Division and overtake our good buddy up there in San Jose and be number 1. So if you could like and subscribe to this YouTube channel, if you are watching on YouTube, and again, tell your Kings friends about this show, that we are here every day for you guys. And again, we're going to be reporting all the latest news involving the LA Kings. I would greatly appreciate it. So thank you very much for that. And we'll see if we can't move up in the top 10 and at least be the number 1 team in the Pacific Division as far as the Locked On NHL shows. Hey, to keep up to date with this show and everything that's going on with the LA Kings, please follow us on Twitter. We are at Locked On LA Kings. If you would like to send me an email for our Friday, this week, Thursday feedback show, or anything else going on with the show, I know we've already gotten a couple emails this week. The email address is lockedoneddie@gmail.com. That is EDDIE, lockedoneddie@gmail.com. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On NHL. Locked On experts give you a daily 30-minute podcast of all things NHL all year long. Stay up to date on everything in the hockey world. Locked On NHL, your daily 30-minute NHL podcast. Hope you had a great weekend. It's starting to cool off here in LA a little bit, which we are all very thankful for, especially those whose air conditioners are not working. Hopefully that gets fixed very soon. But again, thank you so much for watching this. Thank you for all the support on the podcast and on the YouTube channel as well. Wishing you a great rest of your day. And as always, remind you, I'm Eddie Garcia. This is Locked On LA Kings. Go Kings, go.